Previously, Fang Yuan reached rank 3, became a clan elder, and began assembling the goo worms he would need to leave Qing Mao Mountain. Now, he claims the Giant-Toothed Golden Centipede, discovers the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus, and witnesses the Gu Yue clan unleash its final hidden weapon against the Thunder Crown Wolf. But as the surviving clans fight over the spoils, Fang Yuan is drawn into another deadly clash with Bai Ning just as the legendary divine investigator Ti Shuelong arrives on Qing Mao Mountain. Let's continue with Reverend Insanity, episode 19. Fang Yuan set his wine cup on the table and sat down. Only then did the others dare to follow. Not every one of his former classmates had attended. Those with strong family backing, such as Mo Bei and Qi Cheng, were absent. "It is getting late. I should be going," Fang Yuan said. "You arranged this banquet well." The praise sent Gu Yue Dingzong into delight. He hurriedly rose and drew a money pouch from inside his robe. Naturally, it was stuffed with primeval stones. Bending at the waist, he gave a flattering smile. "Listening to Lord Fang Yuan's guidance tonight has truly cleared the clouds before my eyes. I have gained greatly. This modest gift is only a small expression of my gratitude." Every word was nonsense. Dingzong had spent the entire banquet praising and fawning over Fang Yuan. He had never once asked for guidance on cultivation, yet everyone acted as though the lesson had truly taken place. They called out loudly, urging Elder Fang Yuan to accept the gift. Fang Yuan did not refuse. With a faint smile, he took the pouch. A second person came forward, then a third. Soon everyone was offering gifts, and every gift was primeval stones. "You are too generous." Fang Yuan narrowed his eyes and smiled as he accepted them one by one. Before long, there were too many pouches for him to carry. Dingzong immediately summoned several servants and had them hold the gifts on Fang Yuan's behalf. In only a short time, Fang Yuan had received nearly 10,000 primeval stones. At last, he rose unhurriedly and lifted his cup once more. For us to have met is fate. The bond between classmates is something worth remembering. Let us drink one more cup to it. Yes, Lord Fang Yuan speaks wonderfully. Such profound words. They express exactly what lies in our hearts. Everyone stood and raised their cups, filling the hall with praise. Most of them had no background, or at least none worth mentioning. Fang Yuan's promotion to clan elder had frightened them. They feared that he might settle old accounts, and at the same time, they wanted to establish a connection with him. Fang Yuan smiled faintly and raised his cup. Outside, the dark clouds had scattered. Moonlight hung beyond the courtyard like a veil of silver gauze. The night air was cold, and beneath that coldness lingered the scent of blood, harsh, vivid and real. Inside the hall, however, the furnishings were luxurious and the lamps shone brightly. Wine, wealth, and pleasure overflowed. Every face wore an exaggerated smile, as though this place were a warm paradise untouched by the brutality outside. So this is the charm of an organization. Fang Yuan's eyes were clear as he looked into the strong wine in his cup, his thoughts spreading far beyond the banquet. In the academy, he had robbed his classmates for only a few primeval stones at a time, and they had hated him for it. Now he had said nothing at all. Yet these same people watched him eagerly and competed to place pouches of primeval stones in his hands. Each pouch held more than 100. On the surface, the difference came from his new status as a clan elder. In truth, the difference was that he had once stood outside the system. Now he occupied one of its higher levels. Within an organization, people could be exploited willingly and even happily. Fang Yuan did not need to hint at anything. Some would offer bribes on their own. Others would seek his protection. Women would long to offer affection, beauty, even themselves. This world was no different from Earth. How laughable people were. Lose a few coins to a thief and they would fight furiously, crying out about injustice. Yet when bribing those above them, they willingly offered wealth, gifts, their bodies, even their chastity, and still worried that their offering might not be generous enough. The reason Fang Yuan could collect so many primeval stones tonight was simple. He had borrowed the power of the system. A cold smile touched his heart as he thought of King Shu, Mo Yan, and Qi Shan. Gu Yue Qingshu had been talented and possessed excellent aptitude. His natural gifts had surpassed Fang Yuan's. Yet people like Qingshu cultivated slowly, remaining trapped at rank 2 for far too long. Was it because they lacked effort? Ha! Fang Yuan laughed coldly within himself. No. It was because the system oppressed and exploited them. And this kind of oppression was usually invisible. Ordinary people could live their entire lives without ever recognizing it. Take the primeval stones being offered to Fang Yuan now. Had these people kept the stones and used them for their own cultivation, their progress would certainly have been faster. Every bribe was therefore a form of exploitation. Countless people at the bottom competed to bribe those above. In doing so, they pooled their own resources to strengthen the authority of the upper ranks. Money was not the only thing taken. Time was exploited as well. An elite like Gu Yue Qingshu did not need to bribe anyone, but his time had been consumed. He was ordered to run errands, complete missions, travel from place to place and deal with endless responsibilities. All of it was praised as favor, recognition, and trust from his superiors. Had Qingshu been free to spend that time cultivating, he might have broken through rank 2 peak stage long ago. With rank 3 cultivation and the wood charm Gu, he might even have killed Bai Ning. That was the most subtle part. Deep down, the clan elders had never wanted a junior like Qingshu to advance too quickly. He had been such a useful piece on the board. But if he reached rank 3 and stood on equal footing with them, how could they continue ordering him around? Who willingly allowed their own authority to be divided? So they suppressed him carefully and deliberately, while wrapping that suppression in noble words. We value this young man greatly. He only needs more tempering before he can become Jade. This was the truth of organizations. A person who failed to see through it could possess heroic courage, extraordinary talent, or brilliant intelligence, yet still become nothing more than a dragon or tiger in chains, a slave wearing a glorious name. Even someone as capable as Gu Yue Qingshu had met that fate. All these thoughts passed through Fang Yuan's mind in only an instant. To those watching, he had merely paused for a moment. Let us empty this cup. He brought the wine to his lips and drank it in one swallow. Everyone hurriedly did the same. Not one of them dared leave even half a drop. I will take my leave. Fang Yuan cupped his fists, turned, and walked away. The servants carrying his primeval stones followed close behind. Everyone rushed to escort him. Continue drinking. There is no need to see me out. Though Fang Yuan said this, no one dared remain seated. They followed him while offering one compliment after another. Fang Yuan spoke again. I prefer quiet. Only then did they stop, remaining inside the hall. They watched his figure recede into the distance. Some sighed with emotion, some fell silent. One person murmured, Elder Fang Yuan is truly extraordinary, so free and unconstrained. They were frogs at the bottom of a well, looking at the moon through mist. They could sense only that Fang Yuan appeared carefree. None of them understood the structure behind what they had witnessed. The moment a person entered an organization, some part of them would be exploited, and some portion of their interests sacrificed. Even the clan leader made sacrifices, pouring vast amounts of time and effort into governing the clan. But those at the bottom were exploited most severely, while those higher up enjoyed a greater share of the benefits. Back in the academy, Fang Yuan had seized primeval stones, made enemies, walked alone, and spared not even his own younger brother. He had done it to remain outside that layer of exploitation. Because of that, he had possessed enough time and energy to force his way into rank 3 and become a clan elder, shocking countless people. Now he had transformed completely. He was courteous, composed, powerful, and respected. He enjoyed the privileges of an elder, and others looked upon him with envy. First, he had remained free of the system. Then he had entered it from above. Between leaving and joining, between standing outside and stepping in, lay a deep and calculated wisdom. How many people could ever understand it? Fang Yuan was no longer being exploited, yet he enjoyed the benefits produced by the exploitation of others. To ordinary eyes, that was what it meant to live freely. All right, put them on the table, then you may leave, Fang Yuan said. The servants did not dare voice an objection. They silently set down the pouches, bowed to him, and withdrew. This was no longer the room Fang Yuan had once rented. After his promotion to clan elder, the clan had assigned him an entirely new bamboo building. It contained a private study and a sealed chamber for secluded cultivation. It did not come with servants, however. Fang Yuan would have to find those himself. Tusk Flower appear. At his command, pale silver primeval essence flowed into the Tusk Flower mark on his tongue. He opened his mouth and exhaled. A flash of red light appeared. The Tusk Flower emerged before him, slowly rotating in midair like a floating lantern. Fang Yuan activated it. Its red radiance brightened at once, spreading through the room like the glow of sunset. The piles of primeval stones were enveloped by the light. Drawn by an invisible force, they flew out of their pouches and disappeared into the flower. A moment later, the red glow faded. Fang Yuan opened his mouth slightly, and the Tusk Flower flew back inside, settling on his tongue as a crimson lantern-shaped mark. The Tusk Flower is a rank 3 storage Gu. It can hold primeval stones as well as other items, and it ranks among the finest storage Gu at rank 3. At most, it can contain 30,000 primeval stones. But after leaving room for food and other supplies, 15,000 is a more realistic limit. This was Fang Yuan's first time using the Gu, but with the experience of his previous life, he quickly estimated its capacity. Primeval stones were the foundation of a Gu master's cultivation. Without them, a Gu master's progress would slow dramatically. They could also replenish primeval essence quickly, making them immensely valuable in battle. For a Gu master traveling alone, primeval stones were the most basic necessity of wilderness survival. Generally, 10,000 were required to sustain one person for even a relatively short journey, and the supply would still need to be replenished at intervals. 15,000 was somewhat less than Fang Yuan wanted, but it remained acceptable. I borrowed 3,000 primeval stones from Qilian, and tonight brought in another large sum. I will not lack stones for the immediate future. Of the 6 essential aspects, Blood Moon Gu covers offense, Sky Canopy Gu covers defense, Thunderwings Gu provides movement, Tusk Flower handles storage, and Earth Communication Ear Grass serves reconnaissance. Only healing remains unresolved. Fang Yuan silently reviewed his situation. He had once possessed the 9-leaf Vitality Grass, but he had surrendered it in exchange for the opportunity that led to the Tusk Flower. Even if he had kept it, however, he would not have been satisfied with its healing ability. It was only rank 2. There are several rank 3 healing Gu that would suit me. Unceasing Vitality Gu can maintain continuous healing while consuming little primeval essence. That would be especially suitable for someone with poor aptitude like me. Undying Grass can preserve a final thread of life and keep a Gu master breathing. It is one of the superior life-saving Gu. The most ideal would be Self-Reliance Gu. That strange Gu depends on the Gu master's own physical strength. The stronger the body, the more intensely it can stimulate metabolism and repair injuries. But where could he find any of them? He had already searched the Gu Yue clan's underground Gu cave and found nothing. Such rare Gu would never appear openly on the ordinary exchange lists. The only place that offered even a trace of hope was the Flower Wine Monk's inheritance. Even that possibility was tiny. Fang Yuan placed almost no hope in it. The inheritance already felt close to its end. How could it conveniently contain the exact healing Gu he needed at the final moment? That would be far too ideal, far too perfect. The world was usually cruel, incomplete, and indifferent. To place faith in such a convenient outcome would be true naivety. Even so, I should finish exploring the inheritance. At the very least, I should be able to subdue the Giant-Toothed Golden Centipede. He had made the decision, but he still could not leave immediately. His recent promotion and rising reputation brought endless responsibilities. The wolf tide attacked repeatedly, and the clan kept assigning him new duties. More than 10 days passed before he finally found an opportunity to return to the cave in the rocky fissure. It was a night near the end of summer. A light rain had just stopped, and the first breath of autumn lingered in the air. A round golden moon hung overhead like a great plate. Distant wolf howls mingled with the last cries of summer cicadas. Concealed on a mountainside, Fang Yuan turned and looked down. Countless lights shone throughout Gu Yue village. The damaged walls had only recently been repaired, but the former peace and stability were gone. The village resembled a colossal beast that had survived battle after battle, and now lay sprawled across the ground, panting for breath. Even the course of the wolf tide has changed since my rebirth. In my previous life, the Thunder Crown Wolf appeared 3 days ago, yet there is still no sign of it. Fang Yuan gave the village one final glance, then looked away. He had struggled to free this single night. He needed to use it well. Before long, he entered the cave in the rocky fissure. The dust he had deliberately scattered across the entrance remained undisturbed. No footprints marked its surface. The place had not been discovered. The method appeared crude, but in Fang Yuan's experience, simple methods were often extremely useful. Of course, it was not his only precaution. After checking several other signs, he confirmed that the cave was still safe. He let out a quiet breath. Since his rebirth, he had changed more and more events. During the wolf tide, Rugu masters were constantly sent across the mountain. It was entirely possible that someone might stumble upon this place. He passed through the tunnel, entered the second secret chamber, pushed open the stone door, and stepped into the stone forest hidden within the mountain. Stone monkey groups had once again moved into parts of the route he had cleared. But Fang Yuan was now rank 3. Blood Moon Gu was not exceptional among rank 3 offensive Gu, yet it was vastly stronger than Moon Mang Gu. He spent 3 double hours exterminating nearly 10 stone monkey groups before reopening the path. At the center of the stone forest, he climbed the rough stone steps and entered the third secret chamber. A stone door blocked his way. Carved upon it were the words, "Within the Golden Centipede cave lies deadly disaster. Use Earth Hearing to avoid calamity." This was where he had stopped last time. Now he pushed the door open without hesitation and stepped inside. The torch in his hand illuminated 10 paces around him. The Centipede cave was spacious, at least 3 meters high and 2 meters wide. Numerous narrower passages branched away in every direction. Wherever Fang Yuan walked, firelight followed and darkness retreated. At first, only his footsteps echoed through the cave. Soon, however, faint rustling sounds came from all sides. The sounds merged into one endless whisper. Countless centipedes appeared at the edge of the torchlight. They were vicious, but for the moment, their fear of the flame kept them from attacking. Fang Yuan knew the stalemate would not last. Their numbers would continue to grow until they finally surged forward. He did not care. If he were still rank 2 and protected only by White Jade Gu, he would never have deliberately caused such a disturbance. But now he had reached rank 3, and Sky Canopy Gu could withstand the centipede's bites. The only creature he needed to guard against was their king, the Giant-Toothed Golden Centipede. It appeared. Fang Yuan deliberately drew a small amount of pale silver primeval essence from his aperture and allowed it to leak from his body, revealing the aura of a rank 3 Gu master. The Giant-Toothed Golden Centipede immediately sensed a powerful threat. To it, Fang Yuan was a dangerous beast that had entered its territory. It had to kill him first. The two faced each other. The Golden Centipede was over a meter long, its body as wide as 2 fists placed together. At first it remained coiled at the edge of the firelight, like a python hidden in darkness and waiting for its chance. Then it began to crawl forward. Its countless jointed legs supported its body as it slowly pressed closer. Fang Yuan's rank 3 aura made it cautious, but not afraid. Had he been rank 4, it would not have approached so readily. Had he revealed even a trace of rank 5 pressure, it would have turned and fled. Fang Yuan raised the torch higher. Flames burned above him, casting wavering light through the cavern. The centipede's dark golden shell glimmered dimly. Along both sides of its body ran rows of pale silver saw teeth. As it advanced, those teeth began to move, producing the harsh grinding sound of a mechanical saw. Smaller centipedes rushed toward Fang Yuan from the ground and cave walls. Some crawled across the ceiling and dropped onto his shoulders and back. He ignored them. Sky Canopy Gu activated, covering his body in a thick layer of glossy white light. The radiance vaguely formed the outline of armor and protected him firmly. The smaller centipede's poison could not penetrate it. Several twisted across his clothing. Others crawled over his face and ears. The sight would have disgusted most people, but Fang Yuan treated them as though they did not exist. In his previous life, during desperate years in the wilderness, he had eaten almost anything. He had even swallowed non-venomous centipedes raw. Their flavor was not bad. At first it had seemed strange, but after eating enough, he had grown accustomed to it. His attention remained fixed on the giant-toothed golden centipede. It crawled closer and closer. When only 3 or 4 steps remained between them, Fang Yuan stopped releasing primeval essence. His aura abruptly weakened. The centipede sensed the change and accelerated instantly, becoming a streak of golden light. Whoosh! In a blink it reached him and wrapped itself around his lower leg. Its speed was astonishing. While still, it seemed slow and heavy. Once it attacked, it moved like lightning. By the time Fang Yuan reacted, it had already climbed like a serpent, coiled around his waist, and opened its jaws toward his face. He thrust out both hands and seized its head. The giant-toothed golden centipede struggled violently. Fang Yuan possessed the strength of 2 boars, yet even he gradually found it difficult to restrain. Worse, the rows of saw teeth along its sides began spinning at high speed. Scrape! Scrape! The terrible tearing force ground against Sky Canopy Gu's white armor. Pale silver primeval essence drained rapidly from Fang Yuan's aperture. Sparks burst from the protective light as the saw teeth tore across it. His essence was still only initial stage pale silver, and his C-grade aperture held a maximum of 42%. He could not sustain such expenditure for long. Even so, Fang Yuan remained calm. The centipede had trapped him, but he still possessed his greatest trump card, Spring-Autumn Cicada. With a thought, its image appeared within his aperture. Its recovery had continued steadily. Its wings were now tender and green like fresh leaves, and its body held the faint glossy luster of precious wood. Yet it still carried an overall sense of dryness and decay. More than 20% of its strength had returned. Its aura was naturally far more powerful than before. The instant that aura leaked out, the giant-toothed golden centipede went limp. It was merely a wild rank 3 Gu. Before the pressure of the rank 6 Spring-Autumn Cicada, it did not dare move. The change was unmistakable. One moment, restraining the centipede had felt like holding a venomous python and desperately preventing it from turning back to bite. The next, it became as soft and harmless as a strand of grass. Fang Yuan smiled. He poured pale silver primeval essence into it. The giant-toothed golden centipede had already surrendered completely. Fang Yuan's will entered without resistance and erased the wild consciousness within. After several breaths, the Gu belonged to him. He released his grip. Its countless legs moved in coordinated waves as it climbed across the white armor, circled his waist, and wrapped itself around his arm. The surrounding centipede swarm scattered like a receding tide. While wild, the giant-toothed golden centipede had possessed its own natural will and could command the swarm. Now Fang Yuan's will had replaced it. As a result, it lost the ability to control or communicate with the other centipedes. Fang Yuan did not exterminate them. He simply let them escape. Perhaps, after several decades, another giant-toothed golden centipede would be born among them. That had nothing to do with him. He allowed the golden centipede to crawl onto his shoulder, then continued deeper into the cave. The centipede tunnels connected in all directions. After walking for some time, he reached a three-way fork. Fang Yuan first used earth communication eargrass. After listening briefly, he eliminated the central passage. He chose the right-hand tunnel and followed it for half an hour, only to discover a dead end. He returned and took the left path. The giant-toothed golden centipede's aura naturally suppressed the smaller centipedes. Wherever Fang Yuan went, the swarm retreated. This made the search much easier. Not long after entering the left tunnel, the centipedes withdrew from the walls and exposed the stone beneath. Fang Yuan noticed something unusual. These are marks left by human hands. Excitement stirred within him. The passage had clearly been excavated by the flower wine monk using the 1,000-li earthwolf spider. Fang Yuan continued forward, moving slowly and searching with patience. Large numbers of centipedes lived in the tunnel, but to Fang Yuan, that was good news. Their presence made it unlikely that the flower wine monk had left many traps here. The passage was far longer than he had expected. He searched for 6 double hours and traveled almost 3 li. The tunnel sloped ever downward, carrying him deeper beneath the mountain. At intervals, he stopped and listened carefully with earth communication eargrass, doing everything possible to rule out hidden danger. Splash, splash, what is that sound? Gradually, Fang Yuan heard something strange. Then he understood. Water? Could it be? A possibility entered his mind. At the end of the tunnel, he found a wall of crystal. Water lay beyond it. Within that water, gray-white currents twisted around one another in spirals. They resembled tiny whirlwinds, appearing and vanishing without end. Just as I thought, this is a natural primeval spring. Fang Yuan's gaze sharpened. Then he noticed something else within the spring behind the crystal wall. A flower bud of blue and white drifted gently in the flowing water. To think it is actually a Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus. Shock rippled through Fang Yuan's heart. He stared at the lotus before him. At last, more than half of the doubts that had lingered in his mind disappeared. He could now roughly reconstruct the history behind this place. Nearly 1,000 years ago, a powerful rank 5 Gu master arrived alone at Qing Mao Mountain. By chance, he discovered the natural primeval spring hidden within this underground cavern. Overjoyed, he settled here and founded a village. He gathered several mortal settlements from the foot of the mountain and moved them together, creating the earliest form of Gu Yue village. He took wives without restraint, keeping more than 100 wives and concubines, spreading his bloodline widely. He was the ancestor of the Gu Yue clan, the founder of Gu Yue village. After the first generation clan leader died, time passed. The second generation came, then the third, and eventually the fourth. The fourth generation clan leader possessed a great aptitude. He also cultivated to rank 5 and brought the clan into another age of prosperity. Then, one day, a demonic path Gu master arrived from beyond the village. He was a bald, broad-shouldered man dressed in pale pink robes. He traveled alone and took particular pleasure in ruining the chastity of respectable young women. He was the infamous demonic cultivator known throughout that era as the Flower Wine Monk. By some unknown stroke of fortune, the Flower Wine Monk had obtained the recipe for refining the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus. He had prepared almost everything he needed. Only a natural primeval spring remained. After searching and comparing many locations, he eventually chose the spring beneath Gu Yue village. At first, he used the trade in moon orchids as a cover. He deliberately approached the upper ranks of the Gu Yue clan and slowly learned the truth of their strength. Later, he fought the 4th generation clan leader. With his overwhelming combat power, he nearly achieved complete victory. He killed the 4th generation leader and most of the clan elders, but Moon Shadow Gu was planted in his body during the battle. Moon Shadow Gu merely restricted a Gu master's use of primeval essence. It was not fatal by itself. However, the Flower Wine Monk was concerned with refining the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus. He did not want to massacre the clan openly, attract unnecessary attention, and disrupt the refinement. So he chose to proceed in secret. Using the 1,000-li earthwolf spider, he quietly excavated an underground passage and reached this place without anyone noticing. There, with the materials he had prepared in advance, he successfully refined the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus within the primeval spring. The origin of this lotus was extraordinary. Its refinement recipe had been created thousands of years ago by a righteous path Gu Master Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable. The Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus itself was only rank 3. But once advanced into the rank 6 Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus, it ranked 6th among the 10 great immortal Gu, equal in value to Spring-Autumn Cicada. It was known as a mobile primeval spring. It could produce primeval stones for its owner, but the cost of refining it was terrifyingly high. To refine a Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus, one had to use an entire natural primeval spring. That spring also needed to be rich in primeval energy. An old spring that had been exploited for many years and had lost too much of its foundation would not suffice. Once the refinement succeeded, the primeval spring would be destroyed completely. It would lose the ability to produce primeval stones and become nothing more than an ordinary underground spring. The value of a primeval spring was easy to understand. The spring beneath Gu Yue village had supported countless Gu masters for nearly 1,000 years. Yet destroying one primeval spring was merely the beginning. Advancing the Lotus to rank 4 required the destruction of 7 springs. Advancing it to rank 5 required 9. Reaching rank 6 required 11. On top of that, the refinement demanded many other precious Gu as supplementary materials, each worth a fortune. If I carried a Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus with me, it would be like carrying a small primeval spring. At rank 3, the number of primeval stones it produces each day cannot compare with a true spring, but it would still be enough to support my daily cultivation. The benefit was immense. With the Lotus, Fang Yuan could directly produce primeval stones. Its income would certainly surpass that of the 9-leaf vitality grass. Primeval stones would not only accelerate his cultivation, but also give him ample currency for exchanges and purchases. And if he had the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus, he could carry fewer primeval stones. The Tusk Flower could be filled mostly with food and other supplies, greatly reducing his logistical burden. But I have heard that its refinement process is complex and mysterious. It is created from nothing, yet during that period it exists in a state between presence and absence. The naked eye cannot observe it at all. Only through crystal can it be seen clearly. The Gu is fragile. It must be nourished within a primeval spring for 9 days and 9 nights, until all 9 lotus leaves are fully grown. Only then can it be plucked and placed inside the aperture. If one acts too soon, the refinement fails at the final step, and all previous effort is wasted. Fang Yuan did not know the detailed refinement recipe. He had only heard a few confidential rumors. He had no idea how the later stages of refinement worked. Even so, a rank 3 Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus would be tremendously useful to him. He studied the flower through the crystal wall. Only then did he notice that it had merely 8.5 leaves. One incomplete leaf had grown only halfway. It still lacked a little before reaching the complete state of 9 leaves. Fang Yuan was not surprised. Several hundred years had passed. After such prolonged consumption, the foundation of the primeval spring was no longer what it had been in the flower wine monk's time. The Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus had condensed most of the spring's essence. As the spring produced primeval stones year after year, that essence had been steadily depleted. Eventually, the lotus began reversing the process. It sacrificed itself to replenish the spring's losses. That was why one leaf remained incomplete. The Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus must possess all 9 leaves before it can be harvested. It has only 8.5. If I want to pluck it, I must feed primeval stones into this spring. Primeval stones were crystallized products of a primeval spring. They could also nourish the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus and help the missing leaf regrow. Half a leaf might not seem like much, but restoring it would probably require a vast number of stones. If my guess is correct, this crystal wall should function through some kind of connecting Gu. Fang Yuan reached out experimentally. The wall shifted from solid to illusory, like a projection made of light. His hand passed through it without resistance. He quickly withdrew. He did not dare truly reach into the spring. Contamination was one of the greatest taboos for a primeval spring. He poured primeval essence into the Tusk Flower and took out one primeval stone. He threw it toward the crystal wall. The wall seemed not to exist. The stone passed straight through and entered the heart of the spring, landing upon the illusory image of the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus. The blue and white bud immediately swayed. Almost at once, it absorbed the primeval stone completely. When the flower's image became still again, Fang Yuan observed it closely. The incomplete leaf showed no visible change. His expression remained calm. He threw in several dozen more stones, one after another. Still, the leaf did not grow. Fang Yuan continued feeding stones into the spring, silently counting as he did. Only after more than 500 primeval stones had been absorbed did the incomplete leaf grow by the slightest amount. His mood sank. At this rate, he would need to invest at least 50,000 primeval stones in a single attempt. He could not feed them gradually, over long intervals either. The clan continued withdrawing primeval stones from the spring. If too much time passed, the lotus would once again consume its own essence to replenish the spring, undoing his progress. More than 50,000 primeval stones. I currently have over 10,000. I am still short by 40,000. With his status as a clan elder, gathering 40,000 primeval stones was not impossible. But that was not the true problem. Once he harvested the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus, the primeval spring would be destroyed completely. The entire clan would erupt in fury and launch a frantic investigation. Fang Yuan had vast experience, but his present methods were limited. If the clan cast aside all restraint and investigated without concern for cost, they would eventually uncover clues. In truth, the clan's upper ranks had already begun suspecting him. They had only suppressed those suspicions because of the wolf tide. If the flower wine monk's inheritance were exposed, Fang Yuan would be the first person they investigated. Even if he fled in secret, the entire clan would pursue him with all its strength. I will not give up the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus. Even without its refinement recipe, who can say what opportunities the future may bring? But harvesting it now would be like thrusting my hand into a hornet's nest. It would invite certain death. To obtain the lotus, he still needed to wait for the right opportunity. This Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus is the final piece of the flower wine monk's inheritance. But too many doubts remain. He came here to refine the lotus. What happened afterward that left him so gravely wounded and forced him to arrange this inheritance in haste before dying? Fang Yuan already understood why the flower wine monk had left the inheritance. He wanted revenge against the Gu Yue clan. If the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus were removed from the primeval spring, the spring would be destroyed whether the harvesting succeeded or failed. Without the natural primeval spring, the Gu Yue clan would lose the foundation that allowed it to remain here. Its collapse would only be a matter of time, forget it. Without more evidence, circling around these doubts will lead nowhere. I should return to the village first. Fang Yuan finally shook his head and retraced his steps. Before he could leave the cave, however, a long and mournful wolf howl rolled through the mountain without end. That sound, his heart sank. He hurried outside. The moment he reached the riverbank beyond the rocky fissure, the stench of blood struck him. Gu Yue village was still some distance away, yet screams, wolf howls, and explosions had already merged into a deafening roar. Fang Yuan concealed himself and climbed a nearby slope. Dawn had just begun. The sky was only faintly bright. Countless wolf packs surged toward Gu Yue village in wave after wave. One glance was enough to make Fang Yuan's body tense. Behind the wolf tide sat a lightning wolf as large as a small mountain. A myriad beast king, the Thunder Crown Wolf. Its body was long and powerful, its limbs thick with muscle. Deep blue scales covered it from head to tail, while tufts of golden fur grew around its claws, head, and tail. The fur atop its head stood upright in the shape of a crown. It sat motionless upon the ground, calm as a statue. The howls of the frenzy lightning wolves and bold lightning wolves around it seemed only to emphasize its nobility and grace. It did nothing but sit there, yet the psychological pressure it placed upon the Gu Yue clan was enormous. So the myriad beast king has finally appeared. Gu Yue village has reached the decisive moment between survival and destruction. Fang Yuan looked toward the village. Countless Gu masters were fighting desperately, struggling against the frenzied assault of the wolf tide. Then 10 figures leaped over the defensive wall and charged directly into the wolves. Every one of them was a clan elder. At their head was clan leader Gu Yue. To fight a Thunder Crown wolf, they had to take the initiative. Its strength was too great. If it entered the village, the devastation would be catastrophic. The strike force was extremely powerful. Gu Yue, a rank 4 Gu master, formed the spearhead. The other elders followed tightly behind him, each possessing formidable offensive ability. The wolf tide crashed around them, but they advanced against it like a warship splitting stormy waves. Their coordination was precise. Wherever they passed, wolves fell. Nothing seemed capable of stopping them. The closer they drew to the Thunder Crown Wolf, however, the greater the pressure became. Gu Yue's expression remained composed. He suddenly raised his right hand and slashed forward. Whoosh! A golden moonblade as large as an adult human formed instantly and shot ahead. After traveling several meters, it transformed. One blade became 3. The 3 golden crescent blades flew side by side, shrieking through the air like butcher knives. They carved 3 bloody roads through the wolf pack. Wolves rolled and collapsed, flesh and bone scattered. Their cries of pain rose one after another. A frenzied lightning wolf snarled and lunged at the elders from the right. Leave it to me, one elder drew in a deep breath. His thin body suddenly swelled until he became enormously fat. With a heavy impact, he drove his round belly into the wolf and sent it flying. The frenzied lightning wolf had attacked with terrifying momentum. The greater its charge, the stronger the force that rebounded against it. It drew an arc through the air and crashed several hundred meters away. The other elders revealed their own methods. One had long hair as sharp as needles. He fired it in volleys, mowing down groups of lightning wolves. Another covered himself in illusory armor and met the wolves' bites head-on. The Thunder Crown Wolf slowly rose from its half-seated posture. It stared at the approaching Gu masters, vigilance flashing within its bright eyes. Its jaws opened in a low growl, exposing rows of sharp fangs. At the sound, several frenzied lightning wolves and bold lightning wolves moved at once, charging the elders together. The Gu masters' advance immediately slowed under the sudden pressure. Clan leader, we are counting on the elders. You must win! Countless eyes followed them. Silent cries rose in the hearts of every clansman. This was the decisive battle. If they lost, the village would face destruction. If they won, the most difficult stage of the wolf tide would pass. The survival of the entire Gu Yue clan depended on this fight. Not one elder retreated. They pushed forward through blood. Though none had died yet, all had suffered injuries. They slaughtered their way through layer after layer of wolves and forced their way toward the Thunder Crown Wolf. Healing Light Gu, a middle-aged female elder, suddenly extended both hands. Warm, pure light flowed outward. It first entered the clan leader's body, then refracted from him to the other elders one after another. This rank 3 Gu could heal a group at once. It stopped bleeding immediately. Light wounds vanished, while serious wounds recovered by more than half. "Continue the assault!" Gu Yue shouted. 5 elders responded to the signal. They swung their arms and fired moonblades high into the air. Another elder roared. His muscles bulged, and his body expanded to 3 times its original size, transforming into a giant white-furred ape. The ape leaped to the front of the formation and clasped its 10 fingers together. Gu Yue stepped onto the joined hands. The ape growled, planted its feet, straightened its back, and threw the clan leader into the sky with all its strength. Ensnaring Moon Gu, Gu Yue opened his left hand. A hazy purple vortex of moonlight appeared. The moonblades fired by the elders were drawn toward it and swallowed one after another. "Seaver!" Gu Yue's eyes sharpened. His shout rolled like spring thunder as he brought his hand down from above. Boom! Wind screamed. A purple moonblade larger than a carriage descended toward the Thunder Crown Wolf. It appeared slow, yet moved with astonishing speed, reaching its target in almost an instant. The Thunder Crown Wolf roared. At the final moment, a suit of lightning armor blazed over its entire body. Boom! A violent explosion shook the battlefield. Blue lightning and purple moonlight filled the sky. Everyone narrowed their eyes as the shockwave rolled outward, hurling ordinary lightning wolves through the air. When the blinding radiance faded, the elders were already locked in fierce combat with the Thunder Crown Wolf. Every one of them was experienced, and their coordination was seamless. An old man with silver hair sent needles raining without pause. A woman exhaled orange waves of fire from both sides, flames coiling from her nostrils like snakes. 3 other Gu masters restrained the wolf directly. One had transformed into the white ape. Another had turned his flesh into refined steel. The third repeatedly released puppet Gu, pouring primeval essence into them and creating grass-armored soldiers or wooden warriors carrying red spears. These disposable troops drew the wolf's attacks. The healing Gu masters remained at the outer edge, periodically activating healing light Gu. Defensive Gu masters guarded them carefully. The Thunder Crown Wolf recovered from the initial blow. A huge wound gaped across its right foreleg, blood pouring steadily from the injury left by the purple moonblade. It growled continuously. The Elders' formation had trapped it within a carefully arranged net. It possessed immense strength, yet could not use that strength freely. The Gu masters leaped and shifted around it like fleas around a cat or dog, constantly changing positions, opening space, and supporting one another. But their advantage did not last. The Thunder Crown Wolf gradually adapted. Its wounds began closing one after another. A healing Gu clearly lived upon its body. That was terrible news. The presence of a healing Gu meant this battle would become a contest of endurance. Wild Gu could draw directly upon the natural primeval essence in the air. Human Gu masters, however, could only consume the primeval essence stored within their apertures. After the battle had continued for a quarter of an hour, the Thunder Crown Wolf suddenly threw back its head and howled. Lightning flashed across its body. Its speed doubled. The White Ape Elder failed to evade in time. Caught completely off guard, he was bitten once. His head flew away, and his body was torn into 2 halves. The wolf ripped open a gap in the formation. Its tail swung repeatedly, releasing masses of blue electrical plasma. The elders could only retreat again and again. At the critical moment, Gu Yue stepped forward. He was a rank 4 expert with powerful offense and outstanding defense, the pillar of the entire formation. By giving everything he had, he managed to stabilize the collapsing battle line. Rocks shattered. Light exploded. The scale of the fight expanded, and its shockwaves ravaged the surrounding battlefield. No ordinary lightning wolf dared approach. The battle grew increasingly brutal. The Thunder Crown Wolf's wounds became deeper and more numerous. Blood flowed without pause, and several injuries reached the bone. The Gu masters also suffered terrible losses. 6 elders died one after another. Had reinforcements not rushed out from the village, the entire group might already have been wiped out. "Hold on!" Gu Yue shouted, his eyes bloodshot and his voice hoarse. "Endure a little longer and victory will be ours." Then the Thunder Crown Wolf suddenly went berserk. A blazing red radiance covered its body. Rank 4 Berserk Gu. Its strength, speed, reflexes, and every other physical quality doubled in an instant. Boom! Its right paw slammed down. One elder was crushed into meat paste. Its tail swept across the battlefield. With a deafening crack, layers of electrical nets flew outward and covered a mass of grass puppets, roasting them into black charcoal in an instant. "No! I have used up all my puppet goo!" The controlling elder cried in horror. The situation changed abruptly. The true terror of a myriad beast king finally revealed itself, plunging everyone into despair. Gu Yue's brows drew together. He nearly ground his teeth to pieces. Then he shouted, "Bind it! Use the iron chain snakes!" The elders' hearts tightened. Since the beginning of the wolf tide, they had prepared countless strategies. This one was a last resort, reserved only for the most desperate circumstances. "Wind rope Gu!" An elder shouted and exhaled a stream of green wind from his nostrils. It wrapped around the Thundercrown wolf's legs. "Swamp Gu!" Another elder crouched and slapped both palms against the ground. The earth beneath the wolf instantly turned into deep mud. The two methods struck together and forced the Thundercrown wolf to pause. Seizing the opening, the remaining elders extended their hands. Black shadows shot from sleeves and trouser legs. Each shadow was as thick as a fist and more than 2 meters long. On closer inspection, every one was a snake-shaped Gu. Their bodies were made of black iron rings linked together. Only their heads resembled those of ordinary snakes. After landing, they slithered rapidly across the ground and climbed onto the Thundercrown wolf. They linked head to tail, biting one another firmly. In moments, they formed a twisting iron net rooted into the earth, trapping the wolf in place. But the restraint would only be temporary. As the Thundercrown wolf struggled, the iron chains snapped one after another. Within 5 or 6 minutes, the iron chain snake formation would collapse completely and no longer be able to hold it. "Qi Guang, remain here and stabilize the restraints. Keep the wolf pack from attacking the iron chains. Everyone else, return to the village with me." Gu Yue gave the order coldly. He had chosen to retreat. The other elders showed no surprise. They clearly understood his intention. The moment they returned to the village, another elder came forward to meet them. "Lord Clan Leader, everything is prepared." Gu Yue nodded and led the group toward the Clan Leader Pavilion. More than 100 Gu masters sat on the ground in the square outside. Every one of them was gravely wounded and incapable of returning to the battlefield anytime soon. Their faces held the calm resolve of people prepared to die. Those still able to stand and walk were already fighting at the front. The clan had poured everything into the battle. At the most desperate moments, even mortals had been mobilized. They formed walls of flesh and blood with their own lives, delaying the wolf tide long enough for the Gu masters to catch their breath. Gu Yue and the elders entered the ancestral hall inside the clan leader pavilion. Before the memorial tablets of their ancestors, they fell to their knees. "Ancestors above, your descendants are ashamed. The wolf tide is fierce, and the village has reached the brink of destruction. We beg the ancestors to lend us their aid." After Gu Yue spoke, the ancestral hall sank into deathly silence. Drip. Blood fell from the hastily bandaged wounds of several elders and struck the floor. Gu Yue and the others held their breath, not daring to move. Long ago, the first-generation clan leader had sensed that death was approaching and left the village. Before departing, he left behind a final instruction. If the clan ever faced a disaster that threatened its extinction, they were to pray before his memorial tablet. At that time, Gu worms would descend from the sky and help the clan survive the crisis. Throughout Gu Yue clan history, several great disasters had been overcome in this way. This was the clan's final trump card. Silence filled the ancestral hall. The clan leader and elders lowered their heads, each feeling as though a boulder pressed upon their heart. When a Gu master died, the Gu they left behind could retain fragments of their will. Such Gu were not truly wild, yet they also lost the ability to draw upon natural primeval essence. In a sense, those Gu became a method through which the dead Gu masters extended their existence. Everyone waited in fear. The first-generation clan leader had died nearly 1,000 years ago. Did the method he left behind still function? No one knew. After all, 200 years had passed since the clan's previous crisis. Why did they retreat? From his position on the distant slope, Fang Yuan watched with growing suspicion. In his previous life, his cultivation had been too low to come into contact with the clan's deeper secrets. Then he saw a swarm of insects descending from the sky. His expression changed. "Those are." He narrowed his eyes, and his gaze turned cold. There were more than 100 Gu worms. They circled together, forming a rotating crimson cloud that descended toward the village square. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The roar of the swarm reached the ancestral hall. Several elders raised their heads, their faces twisting with wild joy. "Thank you, ancestors, for your protection." The weight in Gu Yue's heart finally lifted. He bowed respectfully before rising. "Come, let us see." He exhaled deeply. Joy appeared on his face, but grief and bitterness remained beneath it, creating a complicated expression. The group left the ancestral hall and stood along the corridor of the upper floor. Looking down at the square, they saw a red whirlwind sweeping across it. The Gu worms were only the size of fingertips. They resembled mosquitoes, though their appearances were far more savage and their entire bodies were dark crimson. They burrowed into the wounded Gu masters sitting in the square, drawing out blood and primeval essence. Within a few breaths, one Gu became several. Their numbers multiplied rapidly. New insects were constantly born. They tore through the Gu master's skin, flew out, and then burrowed into other parts of their bodies. Cries of agony and suppressed groans rose across the square. Not one Gu master fled. The elders had explained everything before they came. For the sake of the clan, they had willingly offered their bodies as food for the Gu. They would exchange their lives for the clan's continued existence. They are all children our clan can be proud of. From the upper floor, Gu Yue watched the scene and spoke in a low voice. His hands trembled slightly as they gripped the railing. The other elders were equally grief-stricken. None of them spoke. Everything matched the clan records. The Gu left by the first-generation ancestor first had to be nourished with the lives of Gu masters. Only then could they help the clan resist an outside enemy. After feeding to satisfaction, the insects rose into the air once more. Their momentum had become far more imposing. In that brief period, their numbers had multiplied by dozens of times. So they really are blood guillotines. Fang Yuan watched from the distant slope, thoughts moving behind his eyes. Blood Guillotine was a rank 5 Gu with an extremely unusual nature. Raising and using it were part of the same process. It fed specifically upon a Gu master's vital blood essence. After eating its fill, it divided. 1 became 2, 2 became 4. If the swarm went hungry and could not find food, the insects would devour one another, reducing their population to preserve the lives of the survivors. At its strongest, a blood guillotine swarm could cover the sky and destroy entire villages. It was more terrifying than many rank 6 Gu. At its weakest, however, 1 or 2 solitary blood guillotines could not compare even to an ordinary rank 3 Gu. Most importantly, Blood Guillotine could later advance into the famous rank 6 demonic Gu known as Blood Deity, ranked 7th among the 10 great demonic Gu. In Fang Yuan's previous life, after founding the Bloodwing Demon Sect, his original goal had not been to refine Spring-Autumn Cicada. He had wanted Blood Deity. Unfortunately, circumstances had forced his hand. For many different reasons, he abandoned that plan and refined Spring-Autumn Cicada instead. There were now tens of thousands of blood guillotines. They swept across the battlefield like a storm. Wherever they passed, wolves howled in misery. The insects surged through everything, burrowing into the bodies of the lightning wolves. Within a few breaths, every drop of blood inside the wolves had been drained. Beast blood could not make the blood guillotines divide. Only the blood of Gu masters, which contained the aura of primeval essence, had that effect. Still, groups of lightning wolves were reduced to dried corpses and collapsed lifelessly to the ground. Only the electrical attacks of bold lightning wolves and frenzy lightning wolves could counter the swarm. Even then, they could only electrocute a small section before the densely packed blood guillotines overwhelmed them and drained them dry. Roar! The iron restraints finally snapped apart. The Thunder Crown Wolf regained its freedom and released a furious roar. The blood guillotines sensed it. They converged immediately, forming a dark red cloud several acres wide that surrounded the myriad beast king from every direction. The wolf swept its tail. Pale blue electrical plasma erupted outward, instantly burning hundreds of thousands of blood guillotines into black charcoal. Crackling sounds like exploding firecrackers filled the air. A gust of wind blew past, carrying the scorched stench of the insects. Blood Guillotine was indeed a rank 5 Gu, but no Gu master controlled this swarm. It could only attack head-on. The Thunder Crown Wolf carried many rank 4 Gu, and some possessed wide area attacks that perfectly countered the swarm. The insects churned like a violent crimson cloud. Within it, the mountain-sized Thunder Crown Wolf struggled, roared, and rolled across the ground. Its enormous body had become a weakness. The fingertip-sized blood guillotines could attack it from every direction. The battle was brutal. Great sheets of blood guillotines fell from the air. At the same time, the Thunder Crown Wolf's scales were pierced. Some insects burrowed into its flesh and openly drained its blood. Driven into desperation, the wolf released electrical plasma directly across its own body, killing the blood guillotines inside it. Its outer flesh was gradually cooked by its own lightning, releasing a powerful burnt odor. The wolf tide's assault on the village stopped. Under the Thunder Crown Wolf's call, countless lightning wolves rushed toward the insect swarm. The Gu masters had escaped death by the narrowest margin. Every one of them held their breath as they watched the magnificent and tragic slaughter before them. The swarm moved like a storm of death. Countless lightning wolves charged into it and collapsed after only a short distance. Yet wave after wave continued to sacrifice themselves, steadily wearing the insects down. The number of blood guillotines decreased. The dense cloud became a thin mist. Eventually, only scattered streams remained, twisting through the air like small whirlwinds. the Thunder Crown Wolf finally broke free. A miserable whimper escaped its throat as it fled. More than half the blood in its body had been drained. Its limbs were weak, its speed less than a tenth of what it had once been, and only sparse arcs of electricity flickered across its body. The moment their leader fled, the remaining lightning wolves lost the will to fight. They tucked their tails and scattered in every direction. "We survived!" The Gu masters stared in disbelief. Some collapsed where they stood and could no longer rise. "I'm still alive." Their expressions were complicated. There was joy, but there was also grief. Too many clansmen had sacrificed their lives during the wolf tide. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The surviving blood guillotines flew toward the distant sky. They circled once above Gu Yue village, then disappeared into the clouds. Fang Yuan watched them leave, contemplation in his gaze. The Thunder Crown Wolf had been defeated. Gu Yue village was safe for the moment. In truth, the wolf packs had suffered so many deaths and injuries that they could no longer maintain their former scale. This wolf tide could be considered over. But wolves remembered grudges. As long as the myriad beast king remained alive, it would return during the next wolf tide. After several years of recovery, it would become even more cunning and powerful. Now was the weakest it would ever be. Killing it and taking the numerous Gu living upon its body would also compensate the clan for part of its losses. Yao Zhong Gayan, remain here and manage the aftermath. All elders still capable of fighting will follow me and hunt down the Thunder Crown Wolf. Gu Yue arranged the forces rapidly. Then he led the 7 elders who could still fight out of the village and pursued the fleeing wolf. Fang Yuan's eyes flashed. The clan's strength is badly damaged, but the situation remains orderly, and the appearance of those blood guillotines was far too strange. I should follow the clan leader, and so it happens. He concealed himself and descended from the slope. Hidden Scale Gu and Thunderwings Gu could not be used simultaneously. Thunderwings Gu was rank 3. Once activated, it formed a pair of lightning wings that the rank 2 Hidden Scale Gu could not conceal. Against rank 3 clan elders, Hidden Scale Gu's invisibility was not completely reliable either. For now, Fang Yuan could only follow the trail from a distance and avoid moving too close. When the Thunder Crown Wolf attacked, he had been inside the cave in the rocky fissure and had not joined the battle. If he suddenly appeared now, the clan leader and elders would undoubtedly question him in anger. There were far too many things he could not explain. The Thunder Crown Wolf was severely wounded and could not run quickly. After following the trail for roughly half an hour, Fang Yuan began to hear arguing and curses from a valley ahead. He approached quietly, climbed onto a mountain boulder, and looked down. Groups of Gu masters were fighting one another in pairs. The Thunder Crown Wolf lay collapsed on the ground. Many new wounds covered its body. Blood flowed continuously. Its breathing was weak and its dim eyes suggested that death was close. "You white-haired old bastard! You truly have no shame. You came all the way here just to steal the spoils. Ha ha ha! Gu Yue, that is where you are wrong. We were the ones who stopped this Thunder Crown Wolf. If you know what is good for you, step aside." Gu Yue and the Bai clan leader fought fiercely, their clash shaking the valley. 3 Thunder Crown wolves lived within the wolf den. Each was a myriad beast king, commanding tens of thousands of wolves. None served another, and none could suppress the rest. Wolf packs had always valued coordination. The 3 Thunder Crown wolves possessed intelligence as well. They divided their forces and hunted the 3 largest beast herds, remaining on Qing Mao Mountain. In their eyes, humans were merely another kind of beast, and another kind of prey. To the wolves, the wolf tide was a massive hunt in which the entire pack participated. The Gu Yue, Xiong, and Bai clans had confronted one another on Qing Mao Mountain for centuries. Naturally, each possessed hidden trump cards. The Xiong clan was the weakest and was still struggling to resist its wolf tide. The Bai clan had risen rapidly in recent years. Its overall strength had already surpassed that of the Gu Yue clan, after killing the Thunder Crown Wolf that attacked their village and repelling their own wolf tide. The Bai clan leader brought a group of elders toward Gu Yue village to see whether any advantage could be taken. To their surprise, they truly found one. They intercepted the fleeing Thunder Crown Wolf inside this valley. Many Gu worms lived on its body, some as high as rank 4. Its blood, skull, eyes, and golden crest were all precious refinement materials as well. The Gu Yue clan could never surrender such wealth willingly. Fury erupted, and the 2 groups began fighting. Ha ha ha! Fang Yuan, I knew you would come. I have been waiting for you. A cold laugh suddenly came from the cliff above. Fang Yuan looked up. A white-robed youth descended from the sky. An ice blade screamed through the air and slashed directly toward his face. One arm missing. White hair and blue eyes. Who else could it be but Bai Ning? The blade had not yet touched him, yet an intense chill already struck his face. It fell like a meteor, carrying murderous cold. Fang Yuan's dark eyes remained steady. He pushed off the ground and leaped backward while pouring primeval essence into Sky Canopy Gu. White armor formed around his body. Boom! The ice blade smashed into the ground and exploded. A cluster of sharp icicles erupted upward. Crack! Crack! The spikes rose one after another, following the direction of Fang Yuan's retreat and leaving a long trail of ice. He tilted his body lightly and avoided them. The mountain path was narrow. Using the momentum of his retreat, he slipped down into the valley. Ha ha ha! Fang Yuan, why is it that every time I see you, I cannot stop myself from wanting to kill you? Tell me why! Bai Ning trembled with excitement and laughed madly. The laughter drew the attention of the other Gu masters in the valley. When they recognized Fang Yuan and Bai Ning, their expressions changed in different ways. Lord Bai Ning, I will assist you! A Bai clan Gu master who had been standing at the edge of the battlefield shouted and charged toward Fang Yuan. Clan leader, that is Fang Yuan from our clan! A Gu Yue Gu master called out. I know. Gu Yue's expression was difficult to read. He avoided an attack from the Bai clan leader and made his decision. Deal with the situation before us first. Before the wolf tide began, Fang Yuan had disappeared mysteriously, causing the Gu Yue upper ranks to become extremely suspicious of him. Now the Bai clan Gu masters placed too much pressure on them. No one could spare the effort to aid Fang Yuan. Bai Ning saw the approaching helper and immediately became angry. Get away from here! This is my battle. Do not interfere. Lord Bai Ning, you have lost an arm. Your combat strength has fallen. You are the hope of our Bai clan. We cannot allow you to take unnecessary risks. Please let me clear this obstacle for you. The Bai clan Gu master shouted as he leaped forward and rushed directly toward Fang Yuan. He activated a Gu. Orange-gold radiance flowed from both palms. Thump! He slapped the ground lightly. The radiance sank into the earth, and a mound rose at once. It raced toward Fang Yuan, growing larger with every moment. Then it burst apart. A giant hand made of yellow earth emerged. It was as large as an adult human and reached for Fang Yuan with suffocating power. Fang Yuan snorted in contempt. Just as the hand was about to seize him, golden light surged from his aperture. It became a brilliant ribbon that wrapped around his body. The enormous earthen hand closed around him. The golden ribbon twisted several times and the hand immediately shattered. What Gu is that? Bai Ning was startled. The golden radiance dispersed, revealing the Gu within. It was more than a meter long, its body as wide as 2 fists. Dark golden armor covered it with a savage, domineering appearance. Sharp silver saw teeth lined both sides of its body and flashed in the light. The Giant-Toothed Golden Centipede. Come, Fang Yuan shouted. His right arm shook and his hand opened into a flat palm. The centipede's countless legs climbed nimbly across him. Its body coiled around his right arm like a serpent. It opened its mouth and swallowed Fang Yuan's right hand, continuing up to the middle of his forearm. Fang Yuan swung his arm. The golden centipede, more than a meter long, swept its tail through the air in a wide arc. At that instant, its body contracted to the limit. Its original length of nearly 2 meters shortened to 1.5. Both rows of legs withdrew into its shell, leaving only the 2 lines of silver-edged, saw teeth exposed. At a glance, it looked as though Fang Yuan held a blunt golden greatsword with silver cutting edges. The Bai clan Gu master rushing to assist was horrified. He had never imagined that the Giant-Toothed Golden Centipede could be used this way. Raising Gu, refining Gu, and using Gu were each profound disciplines. Fang Yuan's method seemed almost unconstrained by common sense, pushing imagination to its limit. In truth, Fang Yuan had not invented it. Roughly 300 years later in his previous life, a rising star of the demonic path appeared. He became known as the Chainsaw Mad Demon. His main Gu was the rank 4 electric-toothed murdering centipede, one of the advancement paths of the rank 3 Giant-Toothed Golden Centipede. But in this life, Fang Yuan was the first person to reveal such a use. Then allow me to broaden your horizons. A cold smile appeared at the corner of Fang Yuan's mouth. He poured primeval essence into the Giant-Toothed Golden Centipede. Beezyzik, beezyzik, beezyzik. Its 2 rows of silver-edged teeth began spinning madly. The vicious grinding sound alone sent chills through the heart. Thunderwings Gu! A sharp light flashed in Fang Yuan's eyes. Deep blue wings of lightning formed behind him. Crack! The wings beat once. Fang Yuan shot forward like a bolt of lightning. Fast, far too fast. The Bai clan Gu master's pupils contracted. A wave of cold swept through his body. Death rushed straight toward him. He cried out in terror and activated his strongest Gu. Thick golden light appeared around his body like armor. But the armor had not yet fully formed when Fang Yuan reached him. Black hair lashed through the air. His eyes flashed like lightning. He looked like a demon god stepping out of a nightmare and descending upon the mortal world to slaughter. His movements were violent and direct. Every muscle tightened. The strength of 2 boars erupted to its limit. The golden centipede became a sword, drawing a brilliant arc through the air. Its teeth spun wildly as it slashed through the Bai clan Gu master's waist. Grind! Grind! The saw teeth tore across the golden light armor. Because the defense had not fully formed, it collapsed almost instantly. The spinning teeth cut through flesh as easily as warm fat. Fang Yuan continued the swing. Blood and shredded meat scattered. The spine broke. The internal organs were minced apart. The upper half of the Bai clan Gu master's body flew through the air, while the lower half remained standing. Thud. The man stared at his own legs with eyes stretched wide in incomprehensible terror. He died before the horror could leave his face. The violent movement caused even the surrounding combatants to pause. They looked toward Fang Yuan with fear and fury. The slain Bai clan Gu master had been a well-known rank 3 elder. Yet Fang Yuan had charged straight through his defense and killed him in a single brutal exchange. Blood covered Fang Yuan's body. Fragments of the elder's flesh clung to his robes. The two teeth on the giant-toothed golden centipede still spun with a savage hum. Its murderous power forced everyone to look. "What an excellent Gu!" Bai Ning shouted. His eyes blazed with crazed excitement. "Fang Yuan, you truly did not disappoint me. Come fight!" Bai Ning roared, his face blazing with excitement as he charged straight at Fang Yuan. Too noisy. Fang Yuan's expression was cold as ice. He turned and met the attack head-on. Boom! The giant-toothed golden centipede collided violently with the ice blade. Cracking sounds followed. The spinning saw teeth bit into the frozen weapon and sent shards of ice flying in every direction. Then the golden centipede cut through the blade and continued sweeping toward Bai Ningbing's face. Bai Ningbing's expression changed. He abandoned the ice blade without hesitation and retreated more than 2 meters. The contracted centipede was only 1.5 meters long, falling just short of reaching him. But with a thought from Fang Yuan, its body extended instantly. What? Shock appeared on Bai Ningbing's face. The centipede's tail struck his chest. Fortunately, his ice muscles protected him, but the blow still tore open a serious wound. A tremendous force erupted through his body and hurled him backward. He crashed onto a large boulder. Blood splashed across the stone, but his ice muscles quickly closed the wound and stopped the bleeding. Bai Ningbing coughed violently and started to rise. Then he heard a thunderous howl of wind. Danger unlike anything he had felt before descended upon him. His pupils contracted. Without even raising his head, he threw himself sideways and rolled away in a disorderly, desperate motion. Boom! The giant-toothed golden centipede came down from above and smashed into the boulder where Bai Ningbing had been lying. Its silver-edged teeth spun madly. The huge rock split apart with a deafening crack. If that strike had landed on me, Bai Ningbing shuddered. Then fury and unwillingness surged through him. Since his battle with Gu Yue, he had stopped suppressing his cultivation and allowed it to rise freely. He had lost one arm, but his cultivation was complete. Yet Fang Yuan, merely a rank 3 initial stage Gu master, was suppressing him. Unacceptable, humiliating, infuriating. "Kill!" Bai Ningbing roared, his wrist turned. Primeval essence flowed into the ice blade Gu in his palm, and a new blade formed instantly. Fang Yuan watched him charge and gave a cold laugh before launching another direct assault. He possessed the black boar Gu and white boar Gu. His strength far surpassed Bai Ningbing's. In his hand, the giant-toothed golden centipede moved as lightly as a branch. He chopped, slashed, hacked, twisted, and swept. The saw teeth spun wildly. In Fang Yuan's hands, the golden centipede was sometimes agile as a bee, sometimes heavy as an elephant, sometimes fierce as a tiger, and sometimes treacherous as a snake. More importantly, it responded to his thoughts. It contracted and extended without warning, becoming long and short from one instant to the next. Bai Ningbing could not adapt. His defense collapsed again and again. He cried out as he retreated, wounds covering his body. His white battle robe became as ragged as a beggar's clothes. Fang Yuan fought with wild intensity, yet his expression remained cold. He displayed mastery over the techniques of sword, saber, axe, and staff, merging all of them together. The giant-toothed golden centipede became a murderous weapon that demanded lives. A Gu worm's strength always depended on the person using it. "Excellent, Fang Yuan!" Bai Ningbing shouted. After having his ice blade destroyed countless times, he finally understood that he could not continue clashing with Fang Yuan at close range. His body was soaked in blood, and the defense of his ice muscles was nearly broken. Yet this only made his fighting spirit burn hotter. If close combat failed, he would attack from a distance. Bluebird Ice Coffin Gu. Bai Ningbing widened the distance and opened his mouth. A blue bird flapped its wings and flew toward Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan did not panic. His expression did not change. He flipped his left hand, and a blood-red moonblade flew out to intercept the ice bird, causing it to explode in midair. Most Gu masters became skilled with moonblades using only one hand, but Fang Yuan's combat experience was immense. His left-handed moonblade was as smooth and precise as his right. When the ice bird failed, Bai Ningbing activated Ice Spike Gu as well. A cluster of icicles shot forward, combining with more icebergs to form a dense barrage. Fang Yuan possessed only one long-range attack. He chose to intercept the more dangerous icebergs, while dodging the icicles whenever possible, and relying on Sky Canopy Gu to endure those he could not avoid. Bai Ning finally gained a slight advantage and prepared to press it further. Then Fang Yuan gave another cold laugh. He raised his right hand. The giant-toothed golden centipede detached from his arm, raced across the ground, and burrowed underground. The hidden threat was enormous. Bai Ning froze for an instant, cursed loudly, and hurriedly leaped backward. "You forced me to do this." He ground his teeth and condensed another ice blade. At the same time, he secretly activated Tornado Gu and Fierce Wind Gu. An ice blade tornado rose. At first it was small. Then it expanded rapidly. Freezing winds shrieked. Frost and snow churned together. Ice spread across the ground, finally suppressing the giant-toothed golden centipede's underground attack. This ice blade tornado was Bai Ning's unique creation, displaying the extraordinary combat talent of the northern dark ice soul physique. It combined Ice Blade Gu, Tornado Gu, and Fierce Wind Gu into a single technique with both offense and defense. Without at least two defensive Gu working together, one could not withstand it. The storm roared. Blades flashed within the freezing wind. The white tornado surged forward like a newly awakened monster, opening its jaws to devour Fang Yuan. Three Gu powered the technique simultaneously. Its assault was sharp, violent, and capable of freezing all life. Even with Sky Canopy Gu, Fang Yuan would have difficulty blocking it directly. The tornado swept toward him. Fang Yuan looked almost disdainful. Lightning wings unfolded behind him. He immediately flipped backward like a bolt of electricity and opened a great distance between himself and the storm. Things were different now. In the past, his movement speed had been far below that of the tornado. Now it could not catch him. A sharp light flashed in Fang Yuan's eyes. He changed direction nimbly in midair and flew straight back into the valley. The ice blade tornado followed close behind. "Do not come this way! Get away from us!" Gu masters from both the Bai and Gu Yue clans cursed and shouted in fury. Fang Yuan remained silent, smiling coldly as he continued charging toward them. The storm behind him was terrifying. Bai Ning's mad laughter could be heard faintly within it as he pursued Fang Yuan without hesitation. "Do not come any closer." A Bai clan master stepped into Fang Yuan's path. Fang Yuan swept his hand. A streak of golden light sprang from the ground and landed on his right arm, forming the shape of a great sword. Bzzz, bzzz, the vicious grinding of the spinning teeth made the Bai clan Gu master's eyelids twitch. Fang Yuan held the giant-toothed golden centipede in his right hand. Blood-red light gathered in his left, ready to release Blood Moon Gu. White illusory armor covered his entire body. Lightning wings beat behind him. His black hair streamed wildly through the air, and behind him came a colossal tornado like a moving mountain. His momentum seemed capable of swallowing the sky. Murderous intent burned in his eyes. He resembled an invincible general charging across a battlefield, ready to trample every enemy and tear apart anyone who stood in his way. Ah! The Bai clan Gu master felt incomparable pressure. Veins bulged across his forehead as he roared, trying to summon his courage. But when Fang Yuan continued forward without slowing, the man's shout died in his throat. He turned and fled. Fear had destroyed his will to fight. Fang Yuan ignored him. He charged past and headed directly toward the dying Thunder Crown Wolf in the valley. Wind screamed around him. His momentum was savage. Wherever he went, Gu masters moved aside. The Thunder Crown Wolf suddenly regained a trace of spirit. It turned toward Fang Yuan. Lightning flickered between its sharp teeth. The dignity of a myriad beast king would not allow it to accept death without resistance. Even at the edge of death, it prepared to counterattack. Fang Yuan descended like a meteor, seemingly about to smash directly into it. Then, at the final possible instant, he kicked off and shot upward. He flew diagonally out of the valley. Only moments after leaving, a violent explosion erupted behind him. The Thunder Crown Wolf's miserable scream merged with the twisting roar of the Ice Blade tornado. Bai Ning's technique was undeniably ingenious. But it had one major weakness. It was difficult to control. Of course, the fact that the tornado now struck the Thunder Crown Wolf also had much to do with Bai Ning's temperament. The dying wolf was trapped beneath the storm. It had already suffered grave injuries and could barely resist. Its scales were cut into fragments. Flesh and blood scattered everywhere. White bone appeared, only to be shattered into pieces by the ice blades a moment later. Damn it! The Gu Yue masters cursed when they saw what was happening. The Bai clan Gu masters looked equally distressed. At this rate, even if the Thunder Crown Wolf died, there would be little valuable material left on its body. Bai Ning did not care. Instead, the blade spun faster, as though he were enjoying the pleasure of slowly carving apart a myriad beast king. One wild Gu after another transformed into streaks of light and fled from the Thunder Crown Wolf's body. Those Gu had lived symbiotically upon the wolf, each side supporting the other's survival. Now that the Thunder Crown Wolf was about to die, they were like passengers abandoning a sinking ship. "Catch them! Hurry! Stop those Gu worms!" The two clan leaders shouted almost at the same time. Chaos erupted once more. The elders attacked one another, each trying to obstruct the other side. The two clan leaders were already occupied and could not intervene. In the end, only 2 or 3 elders with movement Gu managed to fly out of the valley after the escaping wild Gu. The Gu worms scattered in every direction. Fang Yuan watched closely, trying to identify them. What a pity. Earth communication ear grass cannot improve my eyesight. A healing Gu almost certainly lived on that Thunder Crown wolf. Whether I can capture it will depend entirely on luck. He was gambling blindly, but there was no better option. There were countless kinds of investigative Gu in the world. At present, he possessed only Earth communication ear grass. Lightning wings spread behind him. He rushed toward the closest Gu. Green light covered its entire body as it shot into the distance. Fang Yuan pursued and reached out to seize it. Crack! A violent current erupted from the Gu and struck him. Thunderwing's Gu condensed electricity into wings. It offered speed but little agility. Fang Yuan grunted in pain and relied on Sky Canopy Gu to endure the current. He could have forced his way forward and captured the Gu. Instead, he chose to abandon it. Its ability had already revealed its nature. It released lightning to attack enemies. Clearly, it was an offensive Gu, not the healing Gu he wanted. Fang Yuan changed direction and chased another. When he drew closer, he saw its full appearance. Its body was the pale blue of glazed crystal. It floated in the air, protected by a seamless hemispherical shell marked with patterns like a tortoise's back. Thunder Shield Gu. A defensive Gu capable of forming a hemispherical shield of lightning. Fang Yuan was about to ignore it when he spotted a third target. At that moment, a white figure rushed out of the valley. The figure held an ice blade and shouted Fang Yuan's name. Fang Yuan sighed. Luck had not favored him. He could only settle for the second best option. He reached out and grabbed the Thunder Shield Gu within arm's length. The Gu immediately formed a barrier of deep blue lightning, trying to stop his hand. Fang Yuan smiled coldly. The aura of spring-autumn cicada burst out. Thunder Shield Gu instantly wilted as though dead. Its shield vanished, and it fell toward the forest below. Fang Yuan caught it easily. Primeval essence surged from his palm, refining the Gu in an instant. Hidden Scale Gu. His figure rippled like water and vanished. Fang Yuan! Bai Ning shouted. Lightning flashed in his eyes. Rank 3 Electric Eye Gu. It could borrow the power of thunder and see through invisibility. But it could not see through solid objects. Fang Yuan had learned from their previous encounter. Though invisible, he moved behind trees and rocks. Bai Ning scanned the surroundings, roared in fury, and found nothing. Fang Yuan reached a concealed location and immediately sat cross-legged. The Tusk Flower released primeval stones. Although he had reached rank 3, his C-grade aperture could store only 42% primeval essence. He had dominated the earlier battle, but he could not maintain that pace for long. Now, less than 3/10 of his aperture contained essence. Gu masters needed primeval essence to activate Gu. Without it, their combat strength fell sharply. In extreme circumstances, a Gu master without essence could be weaker than an ordinary mortal. The primeval stones in Fang Yuan's hands steadily shrank. Natural primeval essence flowed into his body, and the sea within his aperture began to rise. At rank 1 and rank 2, replenishing primeval essence with stones had been quick. After reaching rank 3, however, the quality of his essence had increased several times over. Restoring it required more stones and more time. Sounds of battle continued outside. After 8 or 9 minutes, Fang Yuan finally replenished his primeval essence to its maximum. He left his hiding place. 5 elders had already died. 3 belonged to the Gu Yue clan. 2 belonged to the Bai clan. Every elder was a pillar of their family. To lose so many in such a short time was astonishing. Gu Yue and the Bai clan leader fought with increasing ferocity. The deaths had driven both men nearly mad with grief. Elsewhere, 3 separate battles revolved around the remaining wild Gu. Ordinary Gu masters did not possess spring-autumn cicada's suppression. Capturing wild Gu was troublesome. They could not attack too heavily, or they might kill the Gu they wanted. Every action required careful control. 8 or 9 Gu had escaped from the Thunder Crown Wolf. No one knew how many the elders had already captured. Only 3 remained visible. The elders surrounded them, chasing and blocking their escape routes. Whenever one side moved to capture a Gu, the other side immediately interfered. The stalemate continued, and no one gained anything. Water Cage Gu, capture it! A Bai clan Gu master shouted and spat out a sphere of water. The sphere expanded abruptly until it was more than 2 meters wide. It enveloped a wild Gu inside. Boom! A golden moonblade immediately struck the water cage and exploded it. The wild Gu flew away unharmed and vanished into the distance. The Bai clan Gu master cursed furiously as he watched a prize that had already reached his hands escape. The Gu Yue Gu masters were even angrier. Every Gu should have been their battle spoils. The Bai clan had forced its way into the conflict and prevented them from gaining anything. You shameless Bai clan bastards! Die! The Gu Yue clan is finished. Our Bai clan will rise and grind you beneath our feet. Both sides burned with rage. Hatred drove them to fight with bloodshot eyes. The slaughter became vicious. Fang Yuan watched the escaped Gu disappear and turned his attention to the other two groups. Each still surrounded a wild Gu. Perhaps one was the healing Gu. The chance was small. Fang Yuan knew the world did not grant wishes simply because someone desired them. Even so, he wanted to try. He was about to rush toward one of the contested Gu when wolf howls rang out like war horns. A massive wave of lightning wolves surged into view. There were bold lightning wolves and frenzy lightning wolves among them. But what drained the color from everyone's face was the enormous wolf behind the pack, its body as large as a small mountain. A Thunder Crown wolf. Another one? Is there a fourth Thunder Crown wolf? The elders turned pale and cried out in horror. The wolf pack poured into the valley, howling as it came. The sudden change caused both clan leaders and every elder to stop fighting. The two clans had already exhausted themselves repelling their respective wolf tides. Their survival had depended upon desperate effort. Now another powerful wolf tide had appeared. They clearly lacked the strength to resist it. For a moment, everyone unconsciously ceased attacking one another. Did the intelligence not say there were only 3 Thunder Crown wolves? An elder cried. Something is wrong, Gu Yue said, forcing himself to remain calm. This wolf is wounded and the pack around it is not especially large. Could it be the one that attacked Shang village? Another elder shouted, slapping his forehead. The possibility was extremely high. The elders' expressions remained heavy. One spoke bitterly. If this pack has appeared here, does that not mean Zhong village has already Damn the Zhong clan! How could they be so useless? They could not even withstand one wolf tide. Another cursed. One elder, however, noticed something else. Look at its forelegs, they are badly injured. The muscles and bones have withered. Everyone followed his gaze. Their falling morale rose slightly. It was true. The wolf's hind legs were well developed, but its forelegs were short, thin, and atrophied. When it ran, it relied mostly on its hind legs and bounded forward like a kangaroo. Wait, that may not be a Thunder Crown wolf. The Bai clan leader suddenly remembered something. His body trembled. A cunning lightning wolf. Fang Yuan already knew the answer. Among 5 tigers, one may become a biao. Among 3 dogs, one may become a mastiff. Among 10 wolves, one may become a bai. The biao was a mysterious creature recorded in ancient legends, said in folklore to be an extra tiger cub born in a litter. The mastiff was a massive hound, said to stand 4 feet tall. The bai was a creature similar to a wolf, though whether it had ever truly existed remained uncertain. Its forelegs were short, leaving it unable to survive alone. It had to ride upon the back of another wolf. Some believed that bai were actually wolves whose forelegs had been lost to hunters' traps, and who were then cared for by the rest of the pack. A bai belonged to the wolf family, but its intelligence surpassed that of ordinary wolves many times over. It often served as the strategist of a pack. The cunning lightning wolf before them resembled a Thunder Crown wolf so closely that a scout mistaking one for the other was understandable. Yet it was also a genuine myriad beast king. More importantly, its intelligence was no lower than a human's. In direct combat, a cunning lightning wolf was weaker than an ordinary Thunder Crown wolf, but human-like intelligence made it far more dangerous. It also commanded a vast army of lightning wolves. No wonder Xiang village had fallen. Leave. Fang Yuan beat his lightning wings and rose into the air. The elders had fought fiercely for too long. Their combat strength was greatly depleted. They could no longer threaten such a wolf pack. More importantly, they distrusted one another and could not cooperate. Fang Yuan turned and departed without hesitation. A myriad beast king was not something to gamble against. 2 wild Gu still flew through the battlefield, but he did not look back. He had to leave immediately. Delay any longer, and escape might become impossible. To know one's own limits, to know when to seize and when to release, was one of the most important abilities for anyone walking through this world. Retreat! The wolf tide is too powerful. We cannot defeat it. Return to the village and establish defenses immediately. The elders had not yet recognized the cunning lightning wolf's true identity, but they were already preparing to withdraw. Then the myriad beast king raised its head and howled. Its fangs stood like rows of blades. Between them, black air appeared from nothing and condensed instantly into a dark sphere. Whoosh! The sphere shot out and traced a black arc across the sky before falling toward the ground. It missed and flew into the sky? This Thunder Crown wolf is useless, what an idiot! The elders shouted. Fang Yuan flew even faster. Boom! The black sphere exploded, dark smoke surged outward with terrifying speed and force. In almost an instant, it covered the surrounding 100 li. Rank 4 wolf smoke Gu! Fang Yuan's expression darkened. He had made the most intelligent response possible, but the smoke expanded too quickly. It swallowed him completely. For a moment, he seemed to have been thrown into the deepest night. He could not see his own hand before his face. Thick smoke filled every direction, suffocating and oppressive. Fortunately, he still had Thunderwings Gu. If he flew straight upward, he would eventually escape the smoke's range. Crack! A bolt of lightning suddenly split the darkness. It moved like a serpent or dragon, crossing an enormous distance and striking directly toward Fang Yuan. The cunning lightning wolf had attacked. Lightning was far too fast. He had almost no time to react. But in the instant between life and death, Fang Yuan's combat instincts moved faster than conscious thought. Thunder Shield Gu, Sky Canopy Gu, a hemispherical shield of lightning appeared beside him. At the same time, white illusory armor covered his body. The brilliant lightning bolt roared like a heavenly dragon and smashed into the shield. The barrier lost less than a second before shattering. The remaining force struck Fang Yuan directly. Even though he squeezed his eyes shut, the light remained painfully blinding. A tremendous power slammed into him and hurled him from the sky. He nearly lost consciousness. Electricity wrapped around his body, paralyzing every muscle and almost making him forget how to breathe. He struck the ground with a heavy thud. Pain dragged his mind back into clarity. Enduring the agony and numbness, he forced himself to stand. Thunder Shield Gu was dead. Thunderwings Gu had also suffered collateral damage. It was barely alive and could no longer be used. Sky Canopy Gu was heavily injured as well, dim and dispirited after enduring such a powerful current. The cunning lightning wolf had unquestionably used a rank 4 Gu in that attack. At higher ranks, a single level of difference created a vast gulf in power. Defending against an offensive rank 4 Gu generally required at least 2 rank 3 defensive Gu. Of course, Thunder Shield Gu had died partly because it had already accumulated many injuries during the earlier conflict. To think that cunning lightning wolf would show me so much respect. Fang Yuan gave a bitter smile and looked around. Everything was black. Smoke filled every direction, making orientation impossible. Be careful. The Thunder Crown Wolf has shrunk itself. It is now the size of an ordinary lightning wolf and is hiding within the pack. An elder's shout came from deep inside the smoke. Fang Yuan's pupils contracted. The cunning lightning wolf was far too crafty, no sinister. It apparently intended to trap and kill every Gu master here. Its earlier attack on Fang Yuan had been made because it did not intend to let even one person escape. Soon, countless wolf eyes began glowing in the darkness around him. Growls and the rush of charging bodies came from every direction. In this black environment, the Gu master's vision was severely restricted. The wolves suffered no such disadvantage. Lightning wolves had poor senses of smell, but exceptionally strong eyesight. I have to leave quickly. Who knows when I might encounter the cunning lightning wolf itself. Even if I avoid it, being surrounded by the pack while possessing only 42% primeval essence will eventually exhaust me. Fang Yuan's thoughts moved rapidly. He activated Earth Communication Eargrass. More than 10 roots extended from his ear and spread outward. Countless sounds rushed into his mind. Wolf howls, explosions, the frightened cries of elders, the dying screams of lightning wolves. It was far too chaotic. Earth Communication Eargrass covered a wide range but lacked precision. Fang Yuan frowned and could only move toward the side where fewer sounds came from. Before long, he encountered a pack of more than 100 lightning wolves. They rushed from the smoke, every one vicious and fearless. Fang Yuan summoned the Giant-Toothed Golden Centipede and activated Sky Canopy Gu. The saw teeth spun wildly. The centipede swept through the smoke like a giant sword and cut into the wolves. Bone fragments and blood erupted into the air. Fang Yuan advanced like a boat splitting waves, forcing his way through every obstacle. Lightning wolves died horribly beneath the centipede. But the moment one fell, a second and third charged forward. They seemed endless. The cunning lightning wolf has surrounded the entire area with its pack. No matter which direction Fang Yuan chose, he encountered more wolves. He understood immediately. He fought while moving. Before long, his entire body was soaked in blood. The pressure was enormous. Darkness surrounded him. He could not see 5 fingers before his face. Wolves charged from all directions without regard for their lives. Alone, Fang Yuan could not defend against everything. Gu Yue, what do you say? The Bai clan leader's voice suddenly came from within the smoke. Fine. We will cooperate and break through the encirclement first. Gu Yue's shout followed. The situation gave them no choice. Only cooperation offered a chance of survival. If they fought alone, the lightning wolves would quickly drain their primeval essence and tear them apart. A miserable ending awaited both men. Howl! Damn it! A wolf cry rang out, followed by a violent explosion. Both clan leaders shouted. Their attempt to gather the elders failed immediately. The cunning lightning wolf had launched another ambush. Its intelligence was no lower than a human's. With one attack, it destroyed the clan leader's plan and disrupted the elders' attempt to organize. Without the 2 clan leaders present, could the elders truly cooperate with one another? The answer was doubtful. This cannot continue. I have consumed too much primeval essence. I need to borrow the strength of others. After fighting desperately for some time, Fang Yuan began to feel exhaustion. He possessed the strength of 2 boars, yet even his muscles now ached. His primeval essence was no longer full. Wounds covered his body. He had been forced to deactivate Sky Canopy Gu. The giant-toothed golden centipede had dimmed, and many of its saw teeth were broken. In a short period, it had killed no fewer than 1,000 lightning wolves, including several bold lightning wolves. Some of those wolves carried defensive Gu and had bodies harder than iron and stone. The golden centipede was not invincible. Without its saw teeth, its cutting ability would fall drastically. Fang Yuan did not linger to fight. He killed only when necessary and kept moving. Using earth communication eargrass, he struggled to maintain direction. Whenever he heard the heavy footsteps of a frenzy lightning wolf, he changed course immediately and avoided it as far as possible. A frenzy lightning wolf was a 1,000-beast king. Fang Yuan could not defeat one alone. If it trapped him while more wolves surrounded them, he would certainly die. I refuse to accept this. An elder's scream came from somewhere inside the smoke. Then it stopped abruptly. Throughout the black fog, the wolf tide surged. Elders died miserably beneath wolf fangs. Their unwilling cries rose one after another. I am approaching my limit as well. Fang Yuan could already feel death drawing near. Yet his expression remained cold. The greater the danger, the calmer his heart became. It was like ice and snow without the slightest tremor. In his previous life, he had survived situations even more dangerous than this. The present circumstances were not yet hopeless. The two clan leaders were still fighting the cunning lightning wolf. As long as they remained alive, Fang Yuan still had a chance. There is fighting ahead. He heard the sound and immediately changed direction. He could not endure much longer. Whether the person ahead belonged to the Gu Yue clan or Bai clan did not matter. Either could be useful. Kill! 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 A Gu master's furious shouting could be heard from a distance. The battle there was clearly intense. Fang Yuan rushed toward it. Then he stopped. Bai Ning Bing. Wounds covered Bai Ning Bing's body. His breathing was heavy, and he looked utterly disordered. When Fang Yuan arrived, both men froze for an instant. Fate truly possessed a strange sense of humor. Only a short time earlier, they had been mortal enemies trying to kill each other. Now, they needed to cooperate if either hoped to survive. Cooperate with Bai Ning Bing? A sharp light flashed in Fang Yuan's eyes. Bai Ning Bing is mad and knows that his own fate cannot be changed. But that does not mean he has no desire to continue living. The will to survive was humanity's most primitive instinct and most basic need. In fact, Bai Ning Bing's personality had been shaped precisely because his desire to live was so intense while his destruction remained unavoidable. There were no eternal enemies in this world. A basis for cooperation existed. But how should Fang Yuan speak so that Bai Ning Bing would accept it? Ha ha ha! Fang Yuan, to think it would be you! Bai Ning Bing spoke first. He laughed loudly, his tone firm. Then die here with me. Being buried together with you would make the ending of our lives interesting enough. Interesting? Fang Yuan considered the word, then smiled and walked slowly toward him. Lightning wolves closed in. Fang Yuan swung the giant-toothed golden centipede and smashed 2 or 3 to death, hurling their claws aside. More than half of the centipede's saw teeth had already broken. Its cutting ability had fallen greatly. For now, it could only be used to bludgeon wolves away. Would it not be even more interesting for us to fight a final battle to the death while surrounded by wolves? Fang Yuan approached slowly, a cruel smile at the corner of his mouth. Bai Ning Bing's eyelids twitched. He had not expected Fang Yuan to be even more domineering than himself. But this was exactly what he wanted. Had Fang Yuan softened his attitude and begged to cooperate for survival, Bai Ning Bing would have despised him. He might even have felt insulted enough to attack. Some people were like that. Treat them gently and they believed you weak and easy to bully. Meet them with firmness and you gained their respect. You truly want to die? Then I will help you. Bai Ning Bing narrowed his eyes. Dangerous pressure spread from his body. Fang Yuan laughed aloud and slowed his steps. His voice was calm, yet carried the weight of long experience. Human life is hurried. 100 years pass like illusion and dream. Why does a person live? Is it not to step onto one's own road and witness the wonders of the world? I do not wish to die, but I do not fear death. I have already set foot upon my road. If I die, I will have no regrets. These were not empty words. They came from Fang Yuan's heart. Who in this world escaped death? Even a rank 9 Gu master, even Renzu, could only seek longevity, not true immortality. In the end, everyone faced destruction. Death was death. What was there to fear? Even if Fang Yuan died within the wolf tide at this very moment, he would have no regrets. He had struggled for his goal. He had exerted himself for it. He had lived according to his own will. Only by releasing the attachment to life and death could a person find the greatest breadth of spirit. Only then could one truly be free and unrestrained. Bai Ning Bing's entire body trembled. He had always claimed not to fear death, but he had never truly been free. He had not seen through life and death and could not release his attachment to them. As long as a person remained afraid, that person was a slave. Bai Ning Bing himself was merely a slave kneeling beneath life and death. Yet he could not be blamed. He was still too young. Many truths could only be understood after years of experience. Even so, Fang Yuan's words opened a door in the wall that had trapped him for so long. To witness the wonders of the world. To have stepped onto a road. To die without regret. Bai Ning murmured the words. Then he suddenly asked, "A road? What is a road?" Fang Yuan smiled faintly. "Every person has a road of their own. Why should I explain mine to you? And how could I possibly understand yours? Many people in this world were born and died without ever finding a road. Others had already stepped onto theirs and continued searching, moving through darkness toward the sacred place within their hearts." Bai Ning's blue eyes suddenly shone with brilliant light. "A road. Yes. I want to find my road!" No outsider could understand the excitement surging through him at that moment. It was like a young man who had searched painfully for a woman without success, only to discover the correct method one day. Like a treasure hunter trapped for years before the final barrier, suddenly finding the path that could break through. Like someone wrestling with an impossible problem for countless days and nights, then seeing the answer at last. Bai Ning had possessed no road. He could not find meaning in life, and so he had remained lost. Fang Yuan could not resolve that confusion for him, but indirectly he had given Bai Ning hope. He had shown him a way to face death. As long as a person walked upon their own road, even death without regret would no longer be frightening. "I feel as though I am about to find my road." Bai Ning clenched his fists, his expression intensely excited. He looked at Fang Yuan and spoke with deep meaning. "At last, I understand the difference between us. You have already begun walking, while I have still been hesitating." Then he suddenly laughed again, his excitement turning almost savage. "Fang Yuan, if you want to fight, I will absolutely face you. But not now. Let us cooperate first. I have electric eye Gu, but the smoke limits my sight to 30 steps. Once we escape, we can choose another day and fight to the death. Cooperating with a former enemy, do you not find that more interesting? More extraordinary? Oh, and how am I supposed to trust you?" "I am not asking you to trust me. You may choose to trust me or not. You can place your back in my hands and remain ready to strike me at any moment. Haha, what you do will depend entirely on your judgment when the time comes." Bai Ning smiled and shrugged, carrying a trace of carefree boldness. Dark smoke rolled around them. Wolves growled from every direction. Fang Yuan lowered his eyes slightly, appearing to consider the proposal. Persuading a person could be extremely difficult. It could also be extremely simple. The key was to strike directly at what lay within that person's heart. "Very well." Fang Yuan stroked the golden shell of the Giant-Toothed Golden Centipede and looked up at Bai Ning. "But be prepared for me to attack you from behind." "Ha ha ha!" Bai Ning's lips curved into a sinister smile. A wave of air moved through the layered smoke, and the empty sleeve of his severed arm fluttered in the wind. Determining direction inside the thick smoke was extremely difficult. The shorter one's vision, the easier it was to wander off course. Bai Ning's electric eye Gu normally had a range of 50 steps. The smoke reduced it to 30. Even so, that was far better than Fang Yuan's naked eyesight. But electric eye Gu gave Bai Ning no broad understanding of the terrain. He could see only what lay immediately ahead. At times, he would charge forward and fall directly into a wolf encirclement. Fang Yuan had the opposite problem. Earth communication eargrass was unaffected by smoke because sound still traveled. There were noises everywhere, and the Gu could detect movement within 200 steps. But Fang Yuan could only move according to what he heard. His vision was too short. He could distinguish a tree or rock beside him, but without distant points of reference, he could not determine direction. Cooperation solved both weaknesses. Bai Ning's electric eye Gu and Fang Yuan's earth communication eargrass supported one another. The situation immediately improved. "That direction is south. Follow it and we will reach your Gu Yue village," Bai Ning said, lightning flickering in his eyes. "No, there are too many wolf packs there. We must go around." Roots swayed from Fang Yuan's right ear. "Haha, then what about southeast?" Bai Ning licked his lips. Fang Yuan crouched. The roots entered the earth and he listened carefully. During that time, every lightning wolf that approached was driven back by Bai Ning. After listening for a while, Fang Yuan stood. "There is an opening to the southeast, but it will close soon. Then we charge through it." Bai Ning spoke but did not move first. He still feared Fang Yuan and refused to expose his back. Fang Yuan laughed coldly. He also had reasons to guard against Bai Ning. In the end, the two advanced together while keeping 5 steps between them. Lightning wolves howled and tried to surround them. But with electric eye Gu and earth communication eargrass working together, Fang Yuan and Bai Ning targeted the weakest points of the encirclement. Whenever an opportunity appeared, they broke through. The advantage of superior information became obvious. Alone, either one would have struggled desperately. Together, they seized the initiative and moved with remarkable smoothness. After charging for some time, the darkness before them suddenly opened. Bright sunlight struck their faces. forcing both to narrow their eyes. "We are out!" Bai Ning threw back his head and laughed. Fang Yuan turned to look behind them. The dense black smoke resembled the bottom of an overturned iron pot covering a vast section of mountain forest. Explosions and furious roars continued inside. The two clan leaders were clearly still fighting the cunning lightning wolf. To think that cooperating with you would feel this satisfying. Bai Ning turned slightly and smiled. "I feel the same." Fang Yuan's lips curled. Then at the same instant ferocity flashed in both their eyes. Iceblade Gu, Giant-Toothed Golden Centipede. The ice blade drew a sharp streak through the air. The powerful golden centipede swept sideways with a screaming gust. Boom! The two collided. The ice blade carved a wound across the centipede's shell, then shattered. Fang Yuan and Bai Ning both leaped back one step. Murderous intent filled their eyes. A brief cooperation could not erase their hostility. Fang Yuan's black hair danced in the wind. Bai Ning's white robes fluttered. The two possessed too many similarities, and precisely because of those similarities, they had become natural enemies. Black eyes met blue. It seemed sparks might burst between them. Then the killing intent on both sides gradually faded. He is already dying. There is no need for me to act. Heaven itself will claim his life. The most important matter now is not Bai Ning, but the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus. If the cunning lightning wolf attacks Gu Yue village, disaster is almost certain. I must seize this opportunity and act decisively. Fang Yuan lowered his eyes as these thoughts passed through his mind. Bai Ning's eyes, however, grew brighter and brighter. No regrets. Yes, even Renzu had to die. All who are born must eventually perish. As long as I witness the wonders of the world, what does death matter? His eyes suddenly blazed. Ha ha ha! I have found my road as well. I will witness all the brilliance and wonders this world has to offer. Fang Yuan, we will fight again another day. When that day comes, I hope your death will bring something extraordinary to my life. With those words, Bai Ning continued retreating, widened the distance between them, then turned and left. He looked utterly battered. Wounds covered his body. Dust and ash darkened his face. One arm was gone, yet his back remained straight as a sword. He was no longer lost. He had found his road. In other words, he had finally become himself. Fang Yuan watched until Bai Ning's figure disappeared into the distance. To witness the brilliance of the world, a grave light flashed in Fang Yuan's eyes. A Bai Ning who was no longer confused was far more dangerous than before. The less he cared about life and death, the closer he would move toward death itself, and the sooner the unmatched power of the Northern Dark Ice soul physique would erupt. You want to fight me again? Fang Yuan smiled faintly. I am afraid I will have to disappoint you. The moment he escaped the raging wolf encirclement, Fang Yuan had decided to leave Qing Mao Mountain immediately. Fighting Bai Ning was somewhat interesting, but the benefit was insignificant. Bai Ning had defined Fang Yuan as the source of excitement in his life, only because he was still young. His vision remained limited to the small world around Qing Mao Mountain. Fang Yuan was entirely different. In this reborn life, Qing Mao Mountain was nothing more than a starting point. Anyone with great ambition needed a vision broad enough to contain the world. Such a person could not remain entangled in petty contests with others. I must leave quickly. The cunning lightning wolf is more intelligent and far harder to deal with than a thundercrown wolf. With the Bai clan and Gu Yue clan's current strength, neither can stop it alone, unless a rank 5 expert appears and turns back the tide. The only alternative is for the two clans to unite. The Bai and Gu Yue clans carried generations of hatred. Uniting would greatly increase their strength, and circumstances would force them to do it. But even together, they could never cooperate with complete sincerity. Fang Yuan had little confidence in the situation ahead. What happens next on Qing Mao Mountain depends on the outcome of this battle. If both clan leaders are killed by the cunning lightning wolf, the mountain will become the territory of the lightning wolves. If only one clan leader survives, then during any alliance, the clan that lost its leader will inevitably become the sacrifice. If the cunning lightning wolf is killed, both clans will still suffer terrible casualties and will need time to recover. Once the clans stabilize and begin settling internal affairs, they will certainly investigate me. Fang Yuan saw the possible changes clearly. This was the world of Gu masters. The strength of a single individual could surpass that of an entire group. The higher a Gu master's cultivation, the greater that disparity became. Whether it was the Bai clan, the Gu Yue clan, or the Lightning Wolf Pack, the appearance of a single rank 4 expert could determine the entire situation and cover the sky with one hand. Yet no matter which outcome occurred, everyone was unfavorable to Fang Yuan. It is time to leave. I still lack a healing Gu, but how can events in this world ever unfold exactly according to plan? I will return to the village, take the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus, obtain a healing Gu from the clan treasury, and leave immediately. Fang Yuan looked back one final time. Violent explosions still sounded from within the vast black smoke. Then he turned toward Gu Yue village. As a clan elder, he had the authority to force open the clan treasury and seize primeval stones and goo worms. This was a moment of chaos and darkness. Everyone was afraid. He could take advantage of it. But once this moment passed, regardless of the battle's outcome, the greater situation would become settled. Then it would be far more difficult to fish in troubled waters. Thunderwing's goo was temporarily unusable, so Fang Yuan traveled through the forest on foot. The wolf tide had swept away most dangers, leaving the mountain paths relatively safe. Before long, the outline of Gu Yue village appeared in the distance. Who are they? Fang Yuan stopped abruptly. Two unfamiliar figures stood ahead. Both were Gu masters. One was older and tall, his back perfectly straight. He possessed the stability of a mountain and the depth of an abyss. The most striking feature was the bronze mask covering his face. The mask was ancient in style and carried the atmosphere of a distant age. Openings revealed his eyes and mouth. His eyes were filled with the weariness of long years, yet also radiated an upright and imposing righteousness. The corners of his lips turned downward, their lines sharp as cuts from a blade, revealing an iron will. The mask did not cover his ears. They were pale with age. The second figure was young. Straight brows resembled swords. Clear eyes and a bright forehead radiated the sharpness of an eagle or tiger. Judging by appearance alone, this person seemed around Fang Yuan's age, yet a silver plate hung from the belt, carved with the character for 3. To possess rank 3 cultivation at such a young age revealed extraordinary talent, a young genius. Fang Yuan's gaze rested upon the youth for only a moment before shifting back to the older man. The younger figure had dark skin and lips that curved downward in the same manner as the elders. A capable, disciplined aura surrounded the body, making it impossible to dismiss. Yet the subtle shape of the neck, chest, limbs, and throat allowed Fang Yuan to recognize at a glance that this young man was actually a woman. Fang Yuan did not underestimate women, but compared with the vigorous young woman beside him, the middle-aged man was the one who truly demanded attention.
Tai Shuileng.
Fang Yuan's heart shook as he silently identified him. The man wore a bronze mask. A square purple star token hung from his belt, engraved with a single character, 5. A rank 5 Gu Master. The legendary divine investigator who enforced justice across southern border, solved cases like a god, and stood among the greatest pursuers beneath heaven. Tai Shuileng. He was known for absolute impartiality and an iron face without mercy. Countless demonic Gu Masters had been captured by him. Countless criminals had lost their heads beneath his judgment. He was a model of the righteous path, traveling across southern border and solving case after case, his reputation brilliant and far-reaching. Young brother, may I ask you something? Tai Shuileng cupped his fists toward Fang Yuan. He had been famous for many years and possessed rank 5 cultivation, yet his manner remained polite and gentle. You are covered in wounds and traveling in great haste, he continued. Have your clan leader and elders encountered trouble? Fang Yuan's expression changed naturally. Worry, fear, suspicion, and caution appeared together on his face. Who are you? How do you know about this? Yes, we pursued the Thunder Crown Wolf and ran into serious trouble. We encountered a cunning lightning wolf. I was returning to request reinforcements. I am Tai Shuileng. I am a friend, not an enemy, and I have just come from Gu Yue village, the masked man replied. Young brother, there is no need to return for help. During a beast tide, every member of a clan shares the same fate and advances or retreats together. Naturally, Tai Shuileng will offer what little strength he has. He accepted the responsibility without hesitation. Damn it. To think that I, Gu Yue, will die here. Even if we die, we cannot allow this cunning lightning wolf to pass. The Gu Yue and Bai clan leaders were covered in wounds. Their primeval essence was almost exhausted. The heavy scent of death filled every breath. Most of the wolf smoke had dispersed. Every elder had fallen. Only the 2 clan leaders remained. The cunning lightning wolf did not approach personally. Several wounds on its body reached the bone. It bared its teeth while remaining behind its lightning wolf army. Cunning light flashed in its eyes. It had no intention of entering the battle itself. Come on, you coward! The Bai clan leader roared. The cunning lightning wolf merely retreated. Then it howled and ordered the lightning wolves to charge the 2 rank 4 Gu Masters. What a crafty beast! Gu Yue and the Bai clan leader exchanged a glance and sighed together. They had planned to unleash one final, desperate counterattack before death. But the cunning lightning wolf's intelligence was no lower than a human's. It refused to fall into the trap. Heavens cannot be escaped. To die here beneath the fangs of lightning wolves. How hateful. As the 2 clan leaders burned with frustration, a voice suddenly came from the distant forest. You 2, hold on a little longer. Their bodies shook. They turned and saw a tall figure rushing toward them like a flying arrow. His silhouette flickered repeatedly as he passed freely through the wolf pack. Within only a few breaths, he arrived beside them. Who are you? Both clan leaders asked at once. I am Ti Shueleng. The Bai clan leader drew in a sharp breath. Joy, fear, and doubt crossed his face. Where had the legendary Tai Shueleng come from? Gu Yue understood the reason for his arrival and was overjoyed. So it is divine investigator Tai. While they spoke, the wolves closed in. A pack of vile beasts. Tai Shueleng growled and activated a Gu within his aperture. Boom! An invisible aura erupted from him and swept in every direction. It was like a mountain standing between heaven and earth, unmoving and impossible to shake. It was also like the vast sky overlooking the mortal world and penetrating all things. Righteous Gu. Only a Gu master who truly possessed a righteous heart could use it. A tremendous wave of righteous force spread outward. Within its range, criminals and wicked beings were struck with fear. The weaker an enemy's will, the more severely they were suppressed. Tai Shueleng had once used this Gu to crush a rank 4 Gu master's fighting spirit and leave the opponent unable to resist. It was a weapon that subdued an enemy without battle. The lightning wolves gathered in a mass, but beneath the pressure of righteousness Gu, none dared advance. "Oh!" The cunning lightning wolf howled from behind them, trying to force the pack forward. "You have courage!" Tai Shueleng's eyes widened. He thrust his right hand toward the myriad beast king. Boom! Waves spread through the air. A gigantic iron hand tore through the distance and reached for the cunning lightning wolf. Rank 5 Iron Hand Apprehension Gu. The cunning lightning wolf was crafty by nature and lacked true courage. Already wounded, it did not dare confront the attack and hurriedly fled. But the enormous iron hand followed closely, refusing to release it. Unable to escape, the wolf roared. Its ferocity was provoked, and it turned to clash violently with the iron hand. The gigantic hand dispersed. The cunning lightning wolf, however, was struck so badly that its entire body became ragged and torn. It whimpered and no longer dared trouble Tai Shueleng. After casting one resentful look at him and the 2 clan leaders, it tucked its tail between its legs and fled. "It is escaping! Stop it!" The 2 clan leaders shouted. Ti Shueleng remained where he was and made no move. "Divine investigator, please act," Gu Yue said, cupping his fists in earnest request. Ti Shueleng shook his head lightly. At that moment, Fang Yuan and the young woman arrived. They saw the cunning lightning wolf being driven away by the iron hand. "Father, you are injured. Why did you use your Gu?" The young woman hurried over and stamped her foot in anger. The resentment in her voice carried deep and unmistakable affection. "Ruonan, that cunning lightning wolf is extraordinarily crafty. Driving it away with overwhelming force was the only proper response," Tai Shueleng said calmly. Then his body trembled. He spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood was a strange green color. When it struck the ground, it immediately corroded a patch of grass, releasing a foul stench. His injuries were clearly severe. "Father, how are you?" The young woman raised both hands, preparing to heal him. "There is no need to panic. You already know about this injury. Spitting out some blood makes me feel better." Tai Shueleng laughed and waved away her treatment. The 2 clan leaders had still carried some resentment toward him for allowing the wolf to escape. Now shame appeared on both their faces. "Divine investigator, you are selfless and impartial. Though gravely wounded, you still acted to save us. We will remember this kindness. We have long heard of your great name. Seeing you today, your reputation is truly deserved. We admire you deeply. Thank you for saving our lives." The 2 clan leaders cupped their fists and offered their gratitude in turn. "Divine investigator, please honor Bai village as our guest. We will certainly repay this life-saving favor," the Bai clan leader added. Gu Yue could not simply watch the Bai clan pull Ti Shueleng away. He knew why the investigator had come. A satisfied smile appeared on his face. "I already understand Lord Divine Investigator's purpose in coming here. You were entrusted by Jiafu to investigate the murder case within our clan. The Gu Yue clan will cooperate with all our strength." The Bai clan leader's expression changed at once. Ti Shueleng spoke calmly. "That is correct. However, I will not be the primary investigator in this case. My daughter, Ti Ruonan, will be responsible." "What?" Everyone's gaze immediately turned toward the young woman.